After playing pretty much all day with every single one of these weapons inside Warzone Pacific, I've kind of narrowed it down to 6 weapons that you should be trying to level up right now, as I do think they will be meta weapons when the new weapon balancing takes place as well, because the main issue with these guns is that weapon bloom effect, and I do think they might fix that with the update. But in this video, we're going to be going over the 6 weapons you need to level up for Warzone Pacific. If you enjoy weapon stat breakdowns, weapon comparisons, and overall tips and tricks, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we try to reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers, and click that link in the description down below and subscribe to our second channel. Let's get on into the list, and starting off the list, we've got the Bren LMG. For any LMG users out there, for Vanguard weapons inside Warzone, the Bren is definitely the best. So you want to use the Mercury silencer. It's going to help with sound suppression and the recoil control. You can actually go for the MX silencer if you have that unlocked too. Both are good options. Then for the barrel, you do want to choose the 705mm barrel. This is going to help with all the recoil benefits, so visual recoil, actual recoil, bullet velocity, and it also doesn't allow the damage to drop off at long range. That's a huge benefit you get with using this barrel right here. Now, I have checked all the other barrels in a private game, and they don't really help all as much as this one. So even if you do level up the weapon, you do still want to be using this Queen's barrel right here. Then for the optic, the 2.5x optic is still the best in my opinion. If you do like any other optic, you can definitely use that, but this one gives you the least amount of visual recoil in my opinion. Then for the stock, any stock that helps with accuracy with sustained fire is the main one you want to be using, and that is because that accuracy with sustained fire is basically weapon bloom, and you want to kind of control that as much as you possibly can with these Vanguard weapons. They actually have a ton of weapon bloom, and hopefully they fix that in a future update. For perks, I'm currently using Acquisition. If there is any ones that I do unlock later that help with recoil, I will choose that instead. So if you do have this gun leveled up further than myself, you can go for one of those attachments instead. Perk 2, I would usually choose fully loaded here, but surplus is good to help you level up the weapon. For the rear grip, I'm currently using the fabric grip, but usually you want to be using the polymer grip, which actually helps with accuracy with sustained fire once again. So once I do level up to the polymer grip, I will be using that instead of the fabric grip. Now this does just help a little bit with aim down sight time, or you can get some recoil control benefits like I have here with the Pine Tar, but like I said, the polymer grip is definitely the best. For magazine, I've chosen to go for no magazine at all here, because currently we have a 30 round mag, which reduces your damage, and a 20 round mag, which increases your damage but reduces your fire rate. But you start off with a 50 round mag on this gun, so that is why I'm sticking to the base magazine type until I think I level up the final one, which gives you a larger magazine capacity. Then when it comes to the ammunition, I would be going for the lengthened ammo type here, which gives you better bullet velocity. I don't have that leveled up just yet, so if you do have that, I recommend using lengthened, but I'm currently using FMJ. And the strife angled foregrip is the best foregrip when it comes to long range weapons inside Vanguard and Warzone Pacific, because it helps with that accuracy stat an absolute ton. I know a lot of people like using the Carver foregrip or that M1 hand stop under barrel, but it doesn't help nearly as much as the strife angled. At number 5, we went from the Bren to the Bar, and for the Bar assault rifle, this gun hits like an absolute truck with this build. You actually only need to like land 4 shots or something like that, and you can kill an enemy with full armor plates. It's pretty ridiculous, but it does have a slow fire rate to keep it balanced, and it's probably one of the more accurate assault rifles coming from the Vanguard weapons. It doesn't have an absolute ton of weapon bloom with this build anyway, and most of this build is actually came from the Victory Cannon blueprint. So if you do have that blueprint, you've pretty much got most of the attachments ready to go, and you can use this weapon and do extremely well with it. Now, for the muzzle, you do want to use the MX silencer for the sound suppression and the accuracy stat, or you can use the Mercury silencer. Both are good options here. The MX is the only one I have unlocked at the moment. For the barrel, the best barrel for the Bar is definitely the 27-inch barrel, because this actually helps with damage range as well. Now, you do get the 30-inch barrel with the blueprint, and it's still a good barrel, but you don't get the damage range bonus, so that is why I do think the 27-inch is the best in my opinion. Then for optic, I go for 2.5x once again. It's just my favorite. For the stock, you do get the chariot stock with the blueprint, so that is really handy. It helps with accuracy, flinch resistance, recoil control, and aiming stability. But there is a stock that helps with aiming or accuracy with sustained fire once again, so you do want to use that if you have it available, because that's going to help out the recoil and the feel of the weapon an absolute ton. When it comes to perk, again, if there's any perks that helps with recoil, I will be going for that once I unlock it, but currently I'm using sleight of hand. Perk 2, fully loaded, is the best option anyway, so I'm using that at the moment. And then again, I would be using the polymer grip if I had that available, but currently I'm using the rubber grip to help with the recoil control. And if you do get the stock that helps with the accuracy with sustained fire, and you do get the perk that helps with that too, you can actually just choose the rubber grip because it will help with the vertical recoil anyway, so that can be kind of down to personal preference here. For the magazine, you have to be using the 50 BMG ammo. This is going to give you that insane damage profile on the bar assault rifle. It's going to allow you to land like 4 shots and get a kill, which is pretty ridiculous on this gun. So definitely make sure you're using this ammo type. It comes with the blueprint anyway. Ammunition, you do get lengthened with the blueprint once again, so I'm going to stick with that because better bullet velocity is always good. And then again, for the underbarrel, using the strife angled foregrip, this is going to help out an absolute ton when it comes to long range rifles and helping with that accuracy stat. So there we have the best build for the bar. At number 4, you probably saw this one coming, and this is the STG. The STG is probably one of the first weapons you unlock. On top of that, we've already got a gameplay video all about this build right here. So if you want to see how this actually performs in-game, check out our previous video. I'll leave a link to that at the end of this video right here. And this is the best build for the STG. I've got pretty much all the attachments you need for this gun. The Mercury silencer, once again, for the sound suppression and recoil control. The 760mm barrel is the best barrel for the STG. Even if you unlock this final barrel, it doesn't help as much as this one right here. Optic, again, I'm choosing the 2.5x. The stock, you need to use the precision stock. It helps with the side-to-side recoil in this gun. This is the best stock for the STG. For perk, you need to use Vital if you do have it available. If you don't, you will be struggling a little bit with this weapon, but when you do get the Vital attachment, it does make this gun much better. Perk, fully loaded. For the rear grip, we're choosing the polymer grip. This is the best one, like I said. It's going to help with that accuracy with sustained fire stat, like I mentioned before. So if you do have this available for any of your assault rifles, make sure you're going for this attachment right here. And then for the magazine, we're going for the 45 round mags, and that's just because it doesn't con your fire rate or your damage, which these other 2 mags do. It just kind of leaves the gun in a kind of balanced level, which is where you want it. And then for ammunition, the FMJ, I would be using lengthened if I had it unlocked, which I'm only 2 levels away from at the moment, but FMJ is what I'm using just now. And then again, the strife angled foregrip is the best underbarrel for any long range rifle inside Vanguard, Warzone Pacific. Okay, so just make sure you're using this underbarrel because it is the best one. At number 3, we have the MP40. The MP40 is one of the first SMGs you unlock when it comes to Vanguard multiplayer, but also it's the first one you unlock when you're actually playing Warzone. So this is probably one you want to level up anyway. So for this, it is a pretty good SMG overall. It's very balanced. It's got a good fire rate. It's got a pretty okay TTK, and the movement speed is pretty good too. But I mainly built this for movement overall. Now, there is some slight adjustments I would make to this if you're struggling with the recoil on this weapon, because the way I have built it does have a bit extra recoil than you maybe would like. But for the muzzle, Mercury silencer, that's a given. You want to use the silencer, keep yourself suppressed. Then for the barrel, I'm actually using the 221mm barrel on this gun. I don't think the base MP40 has a ton of recoil, so you can actually choose attachments that con the recoil just a little bit, and that's why I went for this one, because it helps an absolute ton when it comes to movement. Now, if you are struggling with the recoil, you can remove the barrel entirely, in my opinion, and just use the weapon like this. I know you're missing an attachment slot, but it doesn't really matter too much, because you will still get some of the recoil back in the weapon, and you can start using it at those slightly further ranges. But personally, I do like the movement speed benefits you get with the 221mm barrel. The optic, I will be using one of the iron sights once I unlock it. I don't have it unlocked just yet, so I'm just using the base iron sights. For stock, the remove stock is the best on the MP40 in my opinion. It helps with the hip fire accuracy and the movement speed. It does con the accuracy a little bit, but it is a close range weapon, so it doesn't really matter too much. For the perk, I am using steady perk. You can use the perfectionist if you want to get some more recoil control back in your weapon, but personally I just think the ADS firing movement speed is way too important. It helps you win way more gunfights than you might imagine. For perk 2, I'm using quick. You can go for fully loaded, both are good options here. The rear grip, I'm using the rubber grip. It's just to help a little bit more with that recoil control because I'm using a lot of attachments that con recoil. I just want to get a little bit of recoil back in my weapon. Again, the magazine attachment, I'm using the largest mags we can get. 64 round 9mm drums is the best mag for the MP40 in my opinion. The other ones do give you a faster fire rate, but then con your damage. And this one's just too small a mag in general. Again, I will be using lengthened once I have it unlocked, but I'm currently using FMJ. And the underbarrel that you need to be using for SMGs is the Carver foregrip. It's going to help with hip fire accuracy and recoil control. Both are massive benefits when it comes to an SMG. At number 2, we have the NZ41. Now, if it wasn't for weapon bloom inside the Vanguard weapons at the moment, I do think this would be one of the meta assault rifles that are inside Warzone, full stop. This is a solid weapon, good TTK, recoil is relatively easy to manage, but it's the weapon bloom that kind of lets this weapon down a little bit. So if they do decide to fix the weapon bloom on the Vanguard weapons, this gun is definitely going to be meta in my opinion, and that is why I recommend leveling it up. Now, for the muzzle, you want to use the Mercury silencer for the sound suppression and the recoil control, and it also cons your damage range a little bit, but not by a ton. The best barrel for this is a 360mm barrel. It's going to help with the recoil control and the visual recoil once again. Then for the optic, I like the 2.5x, I think is the best, but you could choose whatever you think is your personal preference. For the stock, you want to make sure you're using the stock that helps with accuracy with sustained fire. This is pretty much the stat we need to try and compensate for when it comes to these Vanguard weapons at the moment anyway. With the way all these guns are balanced, it's just the weapon bloom is ridiculous. I have tried the EPAC one, which looks like it helps out with a lot more stats, but the MK3 is definitely the best stock here. I am using the brace perk. This is just going to help with that initial recoil on the gun, and I do think this is the best perk for the NZ41. Then for the perk 2, fully loaded once again. Rear grip, we're using the polymer grip. Like I said, you want to help with that accuracy with sustained fire. Again, it's the main stat we're trying to compensate for here. When it comes to magazine, I'm just using the base magazine because these ones have too small a magazine overall. You do get a 30 round mag base with the NZ41. For the ammunition, again, I will be using lengthened once I get that unlocked. I'm 2 levels away, so I will be using that as soon as I unlock it. But currently I'm using FMJ. Underbarrel, again, the strife angled grip is the best, like I said before, so make sure you're using this on your long range weapons. At number 1, and the only weapon everyone can agree that is kind of actually good when it comes to the Vanguard weapons, and in my opinion this gun could be kind of broken to an extent because the fire rate is ridiculously fast on this if you equip it with the correct attachments. Now if you've tried out the blueprint that is on ground loot, that actually feels really good, but if you want it to feel even better, then use this build right here. So the PPSH 41 is definitely one of the weapons you want to be leveling up. So for the muzzle, you want to use the Mercury silencer for the sound suppression and recoil control. Then for the barrel, you actually want to use a 230mm barrel. Now, it does help with your hipfire accuracy, which is very handy, especially for an SMG like this. It helps with recoil recovery, but it does con your recoil overall, so you definitely need to keep that in mind. But it increases your fire rate, and it makes this gun fire like stupid fast for pretty much no reason. There's no real reason for this gun to be firing this quick. Then we're using the iron sights on this gun. It just helps a little bit faster ADS time, so I am going for one of the 2 iron sights. Then for the stock, you actually want to use the folding stock. I went for the remove stock on the MP40 because that gun has pretty good recoil overall anyway, but the PPSH does have quite a bit of recoil, so you want to try and compensate for this. So you use the folding stock. It's going to give you a better aim down sight speed. It helps with your recoil recovery, and it also helps your initial recoil. It definitely makes the gun feel a lot better in my opinion. It does con that accuracy with sustained fire stat though, which is a bit weird, but it doesn't really matter too much when it comes to close range weapons because you're going to be up in people's faces anyway. For the perk, I'm using tight grip, which is going to help with the accuracy with sustained fire. Like I said, we're just trying to compensate for this stat as much as we possibly can. So even though we've conned it with the stock, we're trying to make up for that with the perk. And then perk 2, we're using quick. I use this for most of my SMGs because it helps you move around a lot quicker. For the rear grip, I'm using the fabric rear grip. I will be using the polymer grip once again once I have that unlocked, but currently I'm just using it for a faster aim down sight speed, a faster sprint to fire, and better hip fire accuracy, which is going to be useful. For the magazine, you actually want to use the Nambu 71 round mags, and this just makes your fire rate absolutely ridiculous. I think it's going to be even faster than the Mac 10 fire rate. I think it's like 1,200 fire rate or something like that. It's pretty ridiculous. And this just makes the gunfire so quick. Now, it does con your damage, of course, to balance it out, but the TTK still ends up being very good because you're going to get like a stupid fast fire rate with this weapon, and it makes it very forgiving as well. So even though it does have a lot of recoil, even if you miss a couple of shots, it doesn't really matter too much. So this is the mags you want to be using. I've tried it with the Grenko mags, but it's nowhere near as good. I will again be using the bullet velocity ammunition once I have it unlocked, but currently I'm using FMJ. And the underbarrel, again, you want to be using the Carver foregrip, as this is the best for the SMGs, like I said, because it's going to help with the hip fire accuracy, which is a really important stat. So there we have it. Those are 6 weapons that you should be leveling up right now when it comes to the Vanguard weapons inside Warzone Pacific. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we're trying to reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers. And also click the link in the description down below and subscribe to our second channel. We will be making sure that we actually calculate stats for all these weapons later on today as well. So make sure you stick around for that. And thank you very much for watching.